right, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk as we respond to the President Obama State of the Union speech. Howard Feynman over at MSNBC, he's another Obama fanboy, one of the biggest cheerleaders along with Chris Matthews. And he's saying, look, nobody takes President Obama seriously anymore around this town. A president, this is a quote, a president with a 43% approval rating isn't taken seriously by anyone around town. The only two things that speak in Washington, D.C. are money and power. And what Feynman is saying, look, this guy has got no power. He's got no juice. He doesn't have any money. I mean, he's raised it and spent it, so he didn't have any money to go around handing out to people. And he's got no power. He's got a 43% approval rating. Nobody's going to pay any attention to him any longer. So he's virtually a lame duck. You know, and I've suggested before that lame duck is not nearly a strong enough analogy. He's more like a quadriplegic duck for the last 3 years of his presidency. Now, I want to play another soundbite. This is Mark Udall. We played the soundbite from Mark Begich up in Alaska. The only reason I'd want Obama to come up to Alaska is so I could take him around and show him how terrible his policies are. Get him to change his mind. I don't need him campaigning for me. I don't want him campaigning for me. If he wants to come up to Alaska so I can give him a lecture on how wrong-headed his policies are, that's one thing. But I do not want him up here trying to get votes for me because he's not going to get them up here. His policies on Anwar, one of the richest deposits of fossil fuel energy we've got, and he won't let us get to it. So here's Mark Udall. Mark Udall is from Colorado, and he's in big trouble. He's facing a very serious challenger this year in November 14. So Dana Bash of CNN, she's trying to pin him down on whether he would like President Obama to come to Colorado and campaign for him. Here's how their exchange went.
Is he a liability for you, the president, back home?
When the president comes to Colorado and talks about our all-of-the-above energy approach, we've got lots of natural gas and solar power. That resonates with Coloradans. When he talks about making sure our veterans are treated properly, that resonates.
Does that mean you're going to campaign with him, or you're going to have him campaign with you side by side?
We're going to be running a strong campaign based on Colorado's interests and Colorado's future. My job, I think, is to protect Colorado's way of life. We've got a wonderful way of life.
That was not a yes or no. Yes or no?
We'll see what the president's schedule is. We'll see what my schedule is. But the Coloradans are going to reelect me based on my record, not the president's record, not what the president's done, but what I've done and how I've stood up for Colorado. That's the case I'm going to make to Coloradans.
Wow. One more chance? You're not going to say yes or no, are you?
Let's see what the schedule allows. I'm running for the election, not the president in Colorado.
Well, if I think that's our answer.
That is hilarious. 5 times. 5 times. Dana Bash asks him, is President Obama going to be welcome as a part of your campaign? And he will not answer the question. And Dana Bash correctly says, we got our answer. Not in a million years. I don't want that guy anywhere near me in my campaign. I don't want the guy anywhere near my state. The guy is toxic. He's radioactive. Nobody wants him in our state. So the Democrats now are trying to get as absolutely far away from President Obama as they possibly can. Now, by the way, did you know the president talked about global warming last night in the speech? Do you know, this is hilarious. God has a sense of humor, that the minute, I'm talking virtually the minute that President Obama started talking about catastrophic global warming, it began to snow in Washington, D.C. Don't tell me God does not have a sense of humor. And by the way, while he's out there bloviating about how we got to combat anthropogenic global warming, Europe is dumping the whole thing. By 2020, Europe is going to be completely done with this alternative renewable energy deal. Every nation is going to be on their own after 2020 because it's not working. It's driving up energy prices. They're getting blackouts because they don't have a steady supply of energy. And they're saying, look, we've tried this thing. We've given it our best shot. It does not work. So at the same time, President Obama is trying to drive us into this foolish renewable energy stuff and all the solar and wind. Europe is trying to get as far away from that nonsense as they possibly can. Now, number to call if you want to weigh in on your reactions to the State of the Union speech, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Now, Jimmy Kimmel last night, this is audio bite 8, Jeff, if we can get that one. Jimmy Kimmel last night, he aired it last night, but what he did is he sent crews out in Hollywood on Monday night and Tuesday. This is before the speech was even given. So the State of the Union speech had not been given. Hadn't happened yet. So he went around and had a reporter or a staffer go up to people and ask them what they thought of the State of the Union speech as if President Obama had already delivered it. Now, I've asked Jeff to kind of put together a mashup of some. It's about 4.5 minutes. I think I've got it posted on the Focal Point Facebook page. I tweeted out a link to it. It's kind of worth watching just for the humor. But you got to realize the scary thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that everybody you're about to listen to, their vote is going to count just as much as your vote counts. So I give you the classic definition, a catalog, a pantheon of low information voters. Let's listen.
What did you think of President Obama's State of the Union address last night?
You know, it had different effects on different people, and you know, I just feel those effects affect everybody. You know, like you just got to stay positive. You got to not focus on the negative.
What did you think of President Obama's State of the Union address last night?
I thought it was powerful. I thought that he laid out a lot of the same sort of policy he's been laying out all along.
Did you notice that John Boehner kept falling asleep?
I did. I'm not sure if he was actually asleep or just resting his eyes, as they say, but yeah, it was not the best thing to see on national television, but there we go.
What did you think of President Obama's State of the Union address last night?
I thought it was pretty good, but as a young person myself, I can only question it so far because I have my own beliefs about what's going on, and it's
What
only,
specifically was good about it?
just that he was addressing what everybody was talking about, or
Which is what?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
What did you think of President Obama's State of the Union address last night?
It was all right.
What was your favorite part of it?
The end.
Do you think that Joe Biden embarrassed himself last night?
Very much so.
Could you, were you shocked when you saw that, or?
I was pretty shocked when I saw him fall asleep. Like, that was not good.
Was there anything during the speech that made you angry?
That it wasn't over quicker.
Why did you force yourself to watch it if you didn't want to watch it?
Well, it's important to be able to talk to people about things that are going on in our generation. You don't want to sound uneducated.
Even if they haven't happened yet?
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotta stay informed by watching stuff that hasn't even been broadcast yet. Now, 888-589-8840. Rob, let's grab clip number 6 if we can. This is Harry Reid, and he's asked the same question. Harry Reid, he's got a hack and flack here. So Harry Reid is asked the question, and you've just heard from Mark Begich, I don't want him anywhere near my campaign. Mark Udall, I don't want him anywhere near my campaign. Senate candidate in West Virginia, I don't want him anywhere near my campaign. And so Harry Reid's asked, okay, are the Democrats, are they going to want to campaign with President Obama? Here's Harry Reid's answer.
Anytime the President of the United States appears supporting a candidate, it helps. Ronald Reagan hurt me by coming to the state all the time. Barack Obama is personally a very popular guy, and people love this man. They love his family. Of course, with what the Republicans have been doing, trying to denigrate him with what's happened with the rollout of Obamacare, but things, even this week, his numbers are going up again.
So you would encourage some of your most vulnerable Senate Democratic candidates to invite President Obama to appear with them?
Yes, and they will.
That was Dana Bash doing the interview. Remember, Dana Bash is the one that asked Mark Udall, is he going to come out to Colorado and campaign? Had to ask him 5 times and never did get an answer. So yeah, Harry Reid probably ingesting a little too much of the product of the state of Colorado. 888-589-8840. Drop back, Rob, one soundbite to soundbite 5. This is Nora O'Donnell. Nora O'Donnell is a card-carrying member of the left-wing media, the press arm of the Obama campaign. Here is what Nora O'Donnell had to say about last night's State of the Union speech.
I think then the rest of his speech really just proved that Obama's proposals have gone from grand to granular, right? From these grand sweeping proposals at the beginning of a second term to the granular, kind of more modest, scaled back proposals.
So that's from grand to granular. Now, granular, that's what you have in a salt shaker. Those are grains of salt. That's what you have in a sugar bowl, grains of sugar. So from grand to these tiny little things that you can barely even see. And this is a liberal. So these are the people supposed to be his friends. We haven't even got yet to the conservative reaction to President Obama's speech. Let's grab a phone call. Let's begin with Kenny in Norman, Oklahoma. Kenny, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hello, Brian. You are one of my favorite radio people.
Well, thank you very much.
Considering that, maybe you'll allow me to give you some quick constructive criticism. Okay, first of all, even though there's certain Democrats that do not want to be affiliated with Obama, he's still very powerful. My goodness, look at all of the damage that he has done and is still doing and will continue to do as president. Look at all the things we know about, what about all the things we don't know about, Brian? So he's still a very dangerous man. And one more thing concerning the Apostle Paul, I think maybe, Brian, you're a little bit too hard on the Apostle Paul. I'm sure, I have no doubt, he was a greater man than you or myself. And I'm sure if the Apostle Paul was around today, he would not sit and watch all of that filth that the Super Bowl is going to present. Thank you, Brian.
All right, Kenny, you are sure welcome. And I certainly do not mean to denigrate the Apostle Paul. He absolutely was a great man. In my judgment, one of the probably 3 or 4 most important figures in world history. I have nothing but the utmost in admiration for the Apostle Paul. When you say he's a greater man than I am, that's even an absurd question, because I'm not even in the same galaxy with the Apostle Paul and the impact that he has had. I mean, he wrote letters that people are still reading 2,000 years later. I mean, how many people wrote letters 2,000 years ago that anybody's even bothering to read today, and yet people study his letters, they pore over his letters, they study them sentence by sentence, they study them verse by verse, they study them word by word, they will break down the words into their component parts, they will look them up in the lexicons. Why? Because there's power in what he wrote. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. Paul is one of the all-time greatest, most important, most significant, most influential figures in all of human history. Not perfect, and I think the scripture paints his portrait, warts and all, but there is no question an absolutely stupendously great man. Focal Point AFR Talk, 888-589-8840. Back with more of your calls. Stay with us. Focal Point AFR Talk.